part one of your Thursday daily delivery. I am Michael Rand. So much stuff on this beautiful Thursday that we need to split it into two shows. First part right now coming up, talking plenty of Twins, talking a lot of Diamond Sports North and Bally Sports North. Joined here in a little bit by Bally Sports North General Manager Randy Stevens to talk about Bally's perspective on this dispute with Comcast. It's been over a week now since Comcast took Bally Sports North off the air, off of their channels at least, off of their cable system. And Randy and I will talk about that. It seems like Bally's has kind of gone on the offensive, sending fans a lot of messages about what they believe is going on here. Doing kind of a save the fans petition, which I'll get into here in a little bit. Trying to balance out the blame game, I think, in some of this, and try to point out their perspective on this. So Randy will help explain that here in just a little bit. I have a couple of NBA thoughts at the end of the show, but we'll save most of that for part two of this daily delivery episode when Chris Hine joins me for an extended look at the Timberwolves. 6-0 in the playoffs, up 2-0 over Denver going into Friday's Game 3 back at Target Center. We'll talk about exactly what is unfolding before our eyes, how surprising some of this is, how unsurprising other parts of it are, the national narrative, everything you might want to know about the Timberwolves in this moment. Chris Hine and I will get into in part two of this episode. Also in a minute here, I'll talk PWHL, Minnesota losing its first ever playoff game on Wednesday. Talk about that in a moment. First, though, what I missed, like I said, I want to talk Twins at the beginning. A battery-powered victory over the Mariners on Wednesday night. Battery powered by starting pitcher Chris Paddock and catcher Ryan Jeffers. Yes, Jeffers was a DH in Thursday's game, or in Wednesday's game, but typically a catcher, although they can't get him off the field, like Royce and I talked about Monday, they can't get him off the field on days where he is not catching, where Christian Vasquez, as he did Wednesday, is the catcher. You're seeing Jeffers almost always somewhere factoring into the lineup as a DH because of his bat. He did that again in the in the eighth inning of Wednesday's game, providing some key offense to get the Twins a couple of insurance runs. Jeffers, just in general this season, has been off the charts, lights out. Had a 3-run homer the other day. The Twins didn't win that game. The bullpen kind of faltered for one of the first times all year. But Jeffers, the other day hits that 3-run homer, hits the double on Wednesday. For the season, he is tied for third in the majors in doubles, fourth in slugging percentage, up around over 600. His OPS is almost 1,000. He has been, a rock-solid, steady performer in the middle of this lineup, giving them a huge lift, especially with Royce Lewis, how he's been out for so long, really keying a lot of this turnaround to the point now where the Twins are 21-15. Now, you had that big winning streak, that 12-game winning streak. Obviously, that's going to influence the standings in a big way, but I feel like now that they're kind of settling into this equilibrium, right? They're not winning every single game anymore, but they're still playing good baseball. They're still playing quality baseball right now, which Rocco Baldelli talked about Wednesday. Just like a lot of things to like about what's going on with the Twins right now, as opposed to a lot of things to not like in that 7-13 start. They're 21-15 now. Second place in the AL Central. Remember, they were fourth easily and only fourth generously because Chicago's so bad. They're up to second now at 21-15, just 2.5 games behind Cleveland now. Definitely right back where they need to be at this point in the season, right back where they want to be. On pace for 94, 95 wins again. How quickly that turned around is amazing, and Jeffers, a huge part of it. Another part of it, the other half of that battery that I spoke of, Chris Paddock, another good start in this game, got into the sixth inning, allowed just 1 run, had 10 strikeouts. He has won his last 4 decisions. One of those, bit of a clunker against the Angels, got a lot of run support, but this one was really good. The other 2 were great, dominating performances. So winning his last 4 decisions, it was easy to question their faith in Chris Paddock earlier this season when his ERA bloated to over 8 early when he had that terrible start against Baltimore. You're like, okay, what is going on here? Why are they saying Sonny Gray can be replaced essentially in the rotation by Chris Paddock. Not going well. Sonny Gray's pitching great for St. Louis. Chris Paddock not pitching great for the Twins. Well, since then, 23 innings and change, just 5 runs allowed, and 4 of those coming in that one start against the Angels. Aside from that, it's been lights out basically from Paddock. So those two guys, there's a lot of heroes of the turnaround, right? Willie Castro had another really good game on Wednesday. He is one of the heroes of the turnaround. The bullpen in general, despite the hiccup on Tuesday, definitely part of kind of the heroes of the turnaround. Carlos Santana carried the team for a while. His turnaround in the midst of a bad early season slump, that's a big part of it. Carlos Correa coming back. There are a lot of factors. Max Kepler, there's a lot of guys who have had a hand in this, but if you want to look at the offense being keyed by Ryan Jeffers and the pitching turnaround being keyed by a few different guys, but definitely Chris Paddock, someone who, you didn't really know exactly what you were going to get from him going into the season because he's, his first full year back from Tommy John. They really liked what they saw from him in limited action at the end of last year and into the postseason, but a lot of that was as a reliever where he could just cut it loose, throw as hard as he wanted to. Now he's having to conserve energy, use more of his pitches, use more of his kind of bigger repertoire. He's been really good for them lately. Can he keep it up? Will be a big question as to whether the Twins can keep it up, but they have gotten themselves back into a shape where they have to feel good about themselves. Paddock and Jeffers right at the heart of that. On a less positive note, PWHL Minnesota, which for a while this season was one of the best teams in this 6-team league playing its inaugural professional women's hockey season, lost their playoff opener 4-0 at Toronto. It's a best of 5. Game 2 will be in Toronto. Game 3 back at the XL Energy Center next Monday. But right now, you don't know if the series is going to go any more than that because Minnesota is in a big-time slump. They lost their last 5 games of the regular season, kept waiting and waiting to clinch a playoff berth. They just needed 1 point for a lot of that time. Didn't get it, but did get some help in the final game of the season from some opponents to get into the playoffs. Wound up as the 4 seed. Toronto picks Minnesota as the team they want to play, and they didn't do anything to dispel the idea that they were the better team over Minnesota. 4-0 in the opener on Wednesday. Minnesota still got time to turn this around, but when you lose your last 5 regular season games, when you slump into the postseason, it's going to take something pretty momentous. Probably from this team, it's going to start with goaltending. They're probably going to need an epic performance, try to win a game 2-1, something like that, to feel like you're back in this series after game 2. But something's got to change for this team because right now, 6 losses in a row, including that playoff opener. The energy has just completely changed right now from where it was at the start of the season, and they only have a couple more opportunities, perhaps, to get it back.
Open a 5.15% annual percentage yield 9-month certificate from Royal Credit Union. Open now at rcu.org/certificate515. Early withdrawal penalties could reduce earnings and principal. APY accurate as of 4/26/24. Insured by NCUA.
Really happy to be joined right now by Randy Stevens, General Manager for Bally Sports North. Been in that role, Randy, for about a year. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you, Michael. Thanks for having me.
Randy, the reason we're talking today, that it's a kind of a frustrating time for some Twins fans, in particular those who have Comcast. As a lot of people know, Comcast dropped all of the Bally Sports regional networks last week, including Bally Sports North, of course. So any Comcast customers, which are a lot in this area, do not have access right now to Bally Sports North, which right now the heart of that schedule is the Twins games right in the middle of that baseball season, right in the middle of a winning streak when it happened. From your perspective, Randy, how did we get to this moment where now these channels are off the air?
Yeah, so listen, I get it. It is a frustrating piece of the equation, and I came up in this business on the production side, and so I love the product. I'm a huge sports fan myself, and I understand how important access to games is to the people that follow these teams, and it's extremely difficult to be in a situation where you want to watch the games, you want to follow the teams, especially when the team's playing well, and you can't do it. And so I totally get the frustration. But when we are a fans first network, we focus really hard on trying to on trying to serve the fans, trying to help our team partners serve the fans. And so the fact that we aren't getting our games to a portion of the community is super frustrating. And it's something that we never intended to happen. This is a business negotiation that happens from time to time in the industry. But we came into this discussion with the idea that we were going to get to a deal, and we were going to continue to deliver the games to Twins fans, and we never wanted these networks to be off the air. And so, despite the fact that we failed to reach an agreement with Xfinity, we made it known that we were prepared to continue distributing the games and serving the fans, and they made the decision to take the games off the air. And so that is frustrating for us, because we wanted to continue to take care of the fans while we work towards a very important commercial agreement.
I saw Diamond Sports Group sent an open letter to sports fans and Comcast subscribers. I believe that was on Tuesday night that they sent that, basically saying, kind of laying out where we are right now, saying, I'm just going to read straight from it to lay it out for you. Obviously, you know all these things, but bottom line, Xfinity's current proposal will immediately put Bally Sports on a tier requiring you, which would be Comcast Infinity customers, to pay more to see your favorite teams. This is not the matter is not an attempt to ask Xfinity for more money. In fact, we are just asking them to accept market terms similar to what Charter Spectrum, Cox Communications, DirecTV Stream did just last month. Now, that squares with the reporting I had done before and talking to some other folks. It seems like this is basically a question of pricing tier and where these channels should go. Is that basically kind of your understanding of where we're at with kind of the dispute side of this?
Yeah, and so first of all, thanks for sharing that. For fans who want to see the whole message that we have distributed, saveourlocalteams.com. We encourage everyone to go there and give it a look. There's good information there, and as you referenced, our distribution team has been hard at work trying to renew the agreements with all our distributors across the spectrum. And as we try to organize the business, that's a very important step that we need to take moving forward. And we've had some nice wins lately. Charter, Cox, right. DirecTV Stream, those are among the biggest distributors in the country, and they have all agreed to terms that were satisfactory to us. And all we are looking for Xfinity to do is agree to those same terms. This is not an attempt on our part at a cash grab or getting a bunch more money trying to gain increased rates. All we are trying to do here is get them to agree to, I think what others in their position have agreed are commercially reasonable terms. And in addition, we offered to continue providing the content while we work towards that agreement, and they would not agree to that. Given
that, I feel like Diamond Sports and Bally's takes the brunt of the frustration from a lot of folks. And, I think there's plenty to go around if we're being fair. I think every side has made a misstep along the way. I think some of these carriers sometimes get carried away. I think, just speaking for myself, I think, Diamond has had some missteps. And I think, some of the teams have had some missteps in negotiations too. But from where you sit, do you, this is an easy question maybe for you, but do you feel like Bally and Diamond gets too much of the blame in these kinds of situations, that especially when a channel goes off the air? Like, that's the easiest place to look, is to say, why aren't you on the air anymore?
I mean, if I'm being honest, I don't even care about that.
Okay.
What I care about right now is getting our networks back on the air and delivering the games to the fans, allowing our team partners to get their games to their fans. And that, to me, is the focus. I mean, these kind of negotiations always have narrative around them, and people can say what they want to say, but we're going to remain laser focused on reaching an agreement that serves our fans.
Kind of stepping back just a little bit to this past offseason, I mean, there was a point where it looked like the Twins might go a different direction. The contract was up with Diamond Sports. Obviously, they come back to Bally Sports North. They're on that channel this year. How would you characterize that relationship with the Twins, especially kind of in light of how the last week has gone?
We have a a deep and very productive relationship with the Twins. And that, as you referenced earlier, I've been working in this market for about a year now. And one of the things that I was struck with from the very beginning was just how strong the relationships are between our network and our team partners. And, wonderful people. I love working with them, and the people on our staff who've been working with them for many years, I know feel the same way. So I think we have a great relationship. Does not change the fact that we're in a frustrating situation, and that's the reality.
You weren't here for some of what transpired in previous years, but I think you've been kind of part of the RSN family for quite some time. Does this dispute with Comcast, does this feel different, the same than we've seen these channels disappear from Hulu, YouTube TV, things like that in the past? Does this feel different because it's a cable carrier, or does it just kind of feel like, hey, these things happen and this is just like this is one more pricing dispute that you've got to kind of get through?
Listen, Xfinity and Comcast, they have been great partners of ours for many, many years. They've always recognized the value of local sports, and that we've always through the years found a way to come to an agreement, and we are still hopeful that we will come to an agreement in this situation, hopefully quickly. So I think if it's surprising, it's only surprising because they've been such good partners over the years in distributing this content to the fans. But it's a situation that we need to resolve, and we need a willing dance partner.
To that end, maybe a couple more things for you, Randy Stevens, enjoying this conversation, general manager for Bally Sports North. What is the potential timeline? I mean, my sense from just the reporting on this is that Comcast, Xfinity doesn't really seem like they're going to come off of this idea of moving to a different pricing tier. That said, everything's in negotiation, so I get that. Like, do you get a sense that there's hope in this? Is there a certain timeline that can shake this free? Like, how do you see a resolution for this coming?
Well, I'm always going to be hopeful, but to speculate on timeline, you'd be asking me to guess, and I'm not going to do that. I'm not in the room for these negotiations, but we have a experienced distribution team. People who've been doing this for a long time, are really good at it, as evidenced by the list of agreements they've gotten done over the last few weeks with Charter and Cox and DirecTV and DirecTV Stream. So they clearly know what they're doing. And I'm confident that they will resolve this situation as quickly as possible. But again, I'm not in the room, so I can't give you clear sight lines into where the talks are currently.
And I guess the final thing, I hear plenty from fans just because I cover this. I put out a social media query about this the other day. I got more than 200 responses. I'm getting emails. There's tons of comments on anything I write. I'm sure you hear from fans too. I guess I'd like to hear what you hear from fans and what you might say to fans, or what you do say to fans who are frustrated in this moment that they just can't watch games that they used to be able to watch.
Well, yeah, I mean, what I always say, and I guess I don't necessarily accept that narrative that they can't watch games that they've previously been able to watch. They can. The games are available in the marketplace, and we've talked about some of the options: DirecTV Stream, Fubo. Those are all programming outlets that have agreements to carry the Bally Sports networks. They're readily accessible. And, while we want very much to reach an agreement with Xfinity, I would encourage fans that are frustrated who want to watch the games to check out those other options, because they are there and they're airing the games on a nightly basis. So the games are available, and I don't want people to lose sight of that.
I guess one thing I would say to that too is I absolutely agree with that. I think one disappointment this past offseason was that there was not, in the new agreement, there was not a standalone streaming option, to put them on the Bally Sports app with the Twins. Obviously, the Timberwolves have access on that $20 a month subscription, the Wild, the Lynx, but you don't have that with the Twins. Would this conversation right now be a little bit different if someone could just hop over and try that out for a month for $20? Or how do you feel like, that dynamic plays into this?
No, again, I'd be speculating if I got into what it would be like if that were an option. That's what
I do. That's what I do, not you.
Yeah, I know, and you're good at it. You're well versed in this. I appreciate that. But one thing I can tell you about the Bally Sports Plus direct-to-consumer option is we are in conversations with the Lynx about coming up with an option for their fans for the upcoming season. Starts just over a week away.
Soon, yeah.
Not in a position to talk about it specifically yet, but I think we're going to have a special offer that their fans are going to be really appreciative of.
Okay, well, we'll see where this all heads. Randy Stevens, appreciate the chance to talk to you, appreciate the chance to hear your perspective and then kind of Bally Sports North and where kind of this is on that side of things. We'd love to talk to you again down the road, especially if this gets resolved. Hoping for everybody's case that's what happens. And in the meantime, best of luck and yeah, take care. All right.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. Appreciate you having me.
Really appreciated the chance to talk to Randy Stevens from Bally Sports North, general manager over there. A complicated time, a difficult time for everyone right now. It strikes me that Bally's and Diamond Sports are kind of going on the offensive right now. They're trying to say, look, we aren't, if you're looking to blame someone, and even if Randy wasn't really getting into part of the blame games, if you're looking to blame someone, Comcast has to take its fair share of the heat here too. Bally sending emails, sending notes to subscribers. I've seen their messaging on social media in the last couple days, kind of these letters to fans saying, listen, we want these games to be on the air. Comcast is trying to put them on a different tier, taking them away from you. We just want these games on the same tier, the same access tier as we've signed with DirecTV, all these other cable carriers. So it's complicated right now, but I do feel like in the end, Bally's is still losing a PR game. This is illustrative. The letter they sent to fans, I've gotten it forwarded to me by multiple people. One emailer last night sent it to me, said, I'm sure many people are forwarding this to you. See the message below of Bally asking for us to advocate for them. Indeed, they're asking people to sign a petition, say bring our sports back, or put heat on Comcast to put these games back on the air. He said, I don't trust them, and I wish the Twins had launched their own streaming service. I won't be signing this petition. So I feel like a lot of people still upset with a lot of different people, but certainly with Diamond Sports. In some ways, Diamond Sports and Bally's probably caught up in a bad era for cable, a bad era for, RSNs, regional sports networks, things like that. Blame to go around. Blame all over the place here with Twins, Comcast, Diamond Sports, Bally's. I think there's blame plenty of places here, like I told Randy Stevens during an interview, but I do think it is a little bit more nuanced than to just always pile onto Bally's. And so that's a good point to make, even if your anger is palpable and real. Let's finish with the cooler. We'll see if Jamal Murray's mood has improved at all Friday night when the Wolves play the Nuggets in Game 3. Remember, he got a $100,000 fine for throwing a towel and a heat pack on the floor during Monday's Game 2. Got caught up. Got 3 hold off days here. It's going to be hard for this. But throwing those things onto the court in Monday's Game 2, just a fine. People thought maybe there'd be a suspension. I thought it would just be a fine. So I agree that that's probably the fitting punishment. Let him kind of keep his cool, get himself back in the game, things like that. You don't want to be overly punitive, but we'll see if he gets his cool back. Indiana has taken over the role of angry at the officials, saying they're going to send the league evidence of 78 calls from the first 2 games of their series in New York. They lost both of them, including the Wednesday night. 78 calls they took exception with that went against them. 78. Do you think maybe you should have narrowed that down? There's a school of thinking. I've read a lot about this. It's a school of thinking that if you dilute your argument, basically, if you throw too many things at it, your opponent will only single out your weakest claim and be able to shoot it down. So maybe you shouldn't have put 78 instances, some marginal ones perhaps into that. Maybe you should have said, hey, there's 78. We think there's 78, but here are the 10 worst, something like that. I don't know. I don't think Indiana's going to get anywhere with this, even if they're saying it's not about the officiating. This is sending a completely different message there. The officials are in their heads. They're saying, the big market team is getting the favorable calls, things like that, getting swept up in that. I don't know. We'll see if they are able to change their face. So we'll see if they're able to change their emotions. Same with the Nuggets in Game 3, or if they are just too deep into this whole idea of the refs are out to get us. That will do it for me on this episode. Like I said, there's part 2 coming right up, talking to Chris Hine from the Star Tribune about the Wolves, about the Nuggets series in depth. So listen for that. Listen to both of these today. Marcus Fuller on Friday's episode talking name, image, and likeness with the Gophers men's basketball team. And I will also on that episode give you my 5 biggest things that we got wrong about the Timberwolves. So listen for that on Friday. Listen for part 2 in just a little bit here. Until then, I'm Michael Rand. We'll talk to you in a bit.